I wanted to have a very quick follow-up to the last volume or episode of Calibishie Chronicle, when we discussed the institutional pillars of the community, people like Kia and Kakam, and there are other people too who serve the Calibishie, but these two stand out to me as about the most significant people next to my family, mom, dad, grandparents, because of the values that they implanted in me at that very young and tender age. And I was an acolyte in the Catholic Church, and I was also an acolyte of Mr. Challenger, Campbell, because an acolyte is somebody who follows you very closely and try to do the things that you do. And I used to be at Kian's home all the time, and I would listen to Kian. He would show me the ship shank and the riff knot, because I could not really catch it very quickly while we were doing our training. And I used to go to Kian's home all the time. Bully was my partner. Very, very good partner. Lindo and Alpha were bigger boys. They were the bigger boys of the village when I was a small boy. And then we had people like Abel, Herman Winston. Abel was some cooperative officer too, you know, Abel. And a number of people like Cuthbert George, who was a cooperative officer as well, and Sylvester Joseph, who was the chief cooperative officer. Calibishie was very vibrant in the time. So I wanted to insert myself in the story a bit, just to add perspective to the story, because sometimes the storyteller has to put his or herself into the narrative to give direction to where you want that story to go. So the story is not about me. I'm telling the story, but on this episode, I wanted to just implant myself a bit to let you understand sometimes the struggles that people have to go through before they get through in life. So my smile that I always have, people normally say, but why are you always smiling? I got the smile from my upbringing. Kakam taught us things about godliness and friendliness and how the smile brings you closer to God. And in the scout troop, I learned that a scout smiles and wrestles under all difficulties. So when I smile the most, I am maybe even challenged the most. And I also learned that once a scout, always a scout. So the principle of scouting remains with me. And when I'm stressed, I smile. When I'm happy, I smile. When I'm down, I smile. When I'm up, I smile. So my smile is just me. My signature is who I am. But the smile does not always mean happy, even when I do smile. I learned that from my early days, and it somehow just got stuck with me. So that is the trick behind my smile. The other thing is that I understood discipline and service at an early age. So coming out of the Cub Scout and Boy Scouts, the next natural progression was to be a police. So I served as a police at the police station in Calibishie before I was a police. I used to be working there with fellas like Frank, Samuel, and the bigger boys. I think Slim was there one time, and Augustine served there one time, and Inspector Lucky was at Marigot, and they knew that I was serving there as an underage boy, you know. So I would be at the police station and even playing police, going up and down with the police, doing the fatigues and so on, until I got the age to become a police, and I decided to go to Roseau to join the police force in 1990. And I was fired from the force because somebody from Calibishie called to say that I was not a supporter of the Freedom Party, so I should be fired. And I was fired. And that's the story behind me not being a police. This issue about me being on platform and all of that, that never happened. I was a young person at the time. I worked with Edgar Jerome at Northeastern Timbers, Palm Trees. UWP came on the scene in 1988. Edgar Jerome became part of the party and a candidate for the elections. And as a young boy, 19, going on 20, somewhere there about 18, 19, I started following Edgar Jerome going around the place. That was what any young person would do and should do. Get involved. And because of that, I was begrudged and I was taken out of the force by somebody from my village. And I know the person and I've forgiven them already. Because getting me out of the force did not make me any worse. I think it made me better. It told me that I should continue to fight, and I have never stopped fighting. I have fought for everything that I had to achieve in my life. Nothing was ever given to me, and stuff was taken away from me. The point I'm making here is, Calibishie people, BISHIE massive, do not let anything stand in your way between you and progress. Back in the day, I remember Mountain was an old police from Calibishie. Well, he was not an old police. He was a young guy in the police force, but he was an older, bigger man than us. Augustine also joined the force. Bertin joined the force. Davidson Cadet was part of the force before me. And there was Elroy Francois, who was not from Calibishie, but his mom lived in Calibishie, so he's from Calibishie. He was also in the force. And I decided I should do that as well. But anyway, I gave you the story about why I was not allowed to serve. And I decided to really stop here for a minute to reflect on that, to show you that even if things stand in the way of you doing what is right, continue to do what is right. And the discipline that I got from Kia and Kakam pushed me towards the disciplined forces. And alas, you never know what might have happened to me if I had continued to serve. But people who served with me or who joined at the time when I was recruited, like the present Commissioner of Police, he was in my course, number 17. Derek Hunter, St. Rose, was in my course, Laville, a number of guys who have done very well. You know, Lawrence actually got my number, 224, when I left, when I was fired that day. Anyway, we'll talk about that and other stories later on, but it was necessary that I place myself in that little link to show you that the road to progress was not always easy. Although I was asked to leave the village to go out there to do a better job for myself, when I went out there, I was pulled back. But I didn't look back, I kept going. That's why I'm here today and able to tell the story.